It's not every day that you get two high-profile disses on the same beat, but it seems like ever since K-Dot dropped the West Coast anthem Not Like Us, everyone and their grandma has hopped on it. One surprising dude to hop on was REMBLE, and this man took every single second of his verse to completely diss Ralfy the Plug and the rest of the STINC team in the most disrespectful way possible. No cap, this verse might be even more disrespectful than the original Dot verse, with REMBLE going as far as saying his biggest regret about Drakeo the Ruler's death was him leaving him with Ralfy the Plug. Bruh, he went straight into detail, calling the rest of the STINC team musty and pretty much a joke. Bruh singled out them one by one and had words for each one of them. Even went at K7 and called him obese like 10 times. Like, bruh, K7 just being the cut making 304 music. Did he really deserve this? Bruh's pioneering a whole new genre in this rap shit. But Ralfy, on the other hand, took a page out of Kendrick's book and responded immediately with his own diss aimed at REMBLE, going even harder with darker allegations from REMBLE's past and saying he fell off. Not to mention STINC team affiliates like OTM basically pulled up to REMBLE's supposed hood.
We got 10 foreigns put up on the block.
I know you won't be over here, you feel me? We're coming
looking for him, posting that he was a no-show just hours later, bruh. No lie, it's a lot to unpack, but today we gotta get into it. You already know, man. We're gonna get into the real reason that made REMBLE and the STINC team fall off, from the death of Drakeo the Ruler to present day, and where everything goes from here. Those are honestly some of my favorite LA-based artists, so I feel like I gotta give this whole beef perspective and explain how things even got to this point and where things even gonna lead from now on, man. We're gonna get into it all right now, but before we do, gang, I already need you to do something for me, man. Like, comment, subscribe. We're on the road to 100K subscribers, so make sure y'all tap in, man. Hit that notification bell so whenever I post, y'all tune in right away, notification gang, and hit that link in the description at StaySafeWorld.com for the merch, man. It's simple math. Let's get into this right now. Chapter 1, we gotta explain it for the jump. The rise of the ruler. If you're a dedicated West Coast rap fan, you definitely know about REMBLE, the STINC team, Drakeo the Ruler, and the crazy run they went on a couple years ago. You know, Drakeo was like the top general of the scene and basically made it on a nationwide level, got cosigns from Drake, Earl Sweatshirt, O3 Greedo, Shoreline Mafia, you know, created a new wave of monotone, whispering, dark West Coast rap flows with lyrics, you know, that were actually funny, catchy, and really were saying something, you know. Coming up in the late 2010s out of South Central, he was infamous throughout the city, dropping hundreds of songs with many anthems along the way. At the same time, his crew around him, the STINC team, with members like his blood brother Ralfy the Plug, supported him along the way to West Coast legend status. Their funny and clever raps about flocking old Asian people cribs and buying jewelry and new slang basically gained a cult-like fan base. At the same time, other rising artists like Shoreline Mafia and O3 Greedo really brought a nationwide spotlight on the West Coast, and that sort of in turn had people from all over the country recognizing Drakeo's contributions to the scene. Unfortunately, this would get derailed for a little bit when in 2016, Drakeo will be charged for a murder of a blood affiliate at a pajama party in Carson.
News: gunfire at a party in Carson has left one person dead, 2 others wounded. Let's go to NBC4's Marin Austin live at the scene with new information. Marin, good morning.
Michelle, good morning. Of the 3 young men who were shot last night, we've learned that 24-year-old Davion Gregory has died at the hospital. Gregory was one of about 80 people who came to this warehouse off of Victoria.
Several members of the STINC team would get arrested simultaneously as well, and Drakeo pretty much went down bad, facing life in prison. However, 3 years later, he ended up beating his case, and in November 2020 would end up getting released. At that point, he pretty much went on a run for the ages that cemented him as one of the faces of the new LA rap scene. While this was going on, Drakeo would end up getting embroiled in a dangerous beef with Compton rapper YG and pretty much the entire city of Inglewood, which has a lot of blood affiliate gangs ready to crash, man. You see, off rip, things were not looking good, as the man who was murked at the party was allegedly where Drakeo was charged for the murder. Red Bull had ties to various blood sets throughout the city, which would later set the stage for his eventual downfall. But while the STINCs and Drakeo were dealing with that, shortly after Drakeo got out of jail, another rapper would seemingly blow up out of nowhere from a Drakeo cosign, become a viral rap sensation. This leads us to chapter 2, the rise of REMBLE. While Drakeo had just gotten out and was starting to pick up from where he left off, a new rapper from the often forgotten neighborhood of Los Angeles by the sea started making waves. And yes, San Pedro is actually part of Los Angeles. I found out that today. I thought it was his own city, but it's actually considered a neighborhood in Los Angeles. So REMBLE, a Dodge City Crip affiliate out of San Pedro, started to turn heads with his unconventional flow. It seemed like Drakeo gained a liking for him and sort of took him under his wing and gave him a major cosign, dropping a major collab called Ruth Chris Freestyle, which would basically put REMBLE on the map on the West Coast. At the same time, REMBLE got some stupid viral TikTok hits with Gordon Ramsay Freestyle and Touchable that had suburban kids from all over America chanting the word. It was around this time that many believed that this was the first sign of friction. You see, rather than signing with the STINC team, REMBLE decided to take a multi-million-dollar deal from Warner Music and take the first steps to trying to be a large-scale industry type rapper. At the same time, the STINCs maintained the independent way that they had continuously been pushing. Many believe that there was a major point of conflict because shortly after this period, REMBLE sort of disappeared from his association with the STINC team. I feel like a lot of people might have gotten the impression that he used Drakeo and the STINC team basically to upkeep and push his career, but then after he already had those hits, he didn't show the same love. You know, he could have put them on songs, he could have featured them on songs when he was at his peak, you know, and kept the whole vibe going. It's like, I guess in their minds, you didn't necessarily have to sign to us, but if you're gonna like use our sound and basically come up from that sort of sound and wave within the genre, you can at least put them on, you know. While Drakeo would end up dropping a Touchable remix, many felt that there was some type of issue between the STINCs and REMBLE at the time, even though there wasn't really any evidence supporting this. Besides some questionable lyrics that many fans felt that were aimed at REMBLE when Drakeo rapped about, "I used to slap dudes' music before I heard him touching kids," many felt he was aimed at REMBLE because he had some people apparently accuse him of some sort of sexual misconduct early in his career. However, no paperwork or proof has really come out to support this, besides people just kind of yapping online. At the same time, Drakeo and the rest of the STINC team were doing tours and shows and just all around going out, getting bread, while REMBLE apparently was a no-show to a lot of these things. This apparently rubbed Ralfy and the rest of the STINC team the wrong way because they felt that if REMBLE messed with them, he could at least go out of his way to show up to their brand building engagement type events like shows, you know, at least do one show at the Novo or something to show love. But it seems that that was never able to come into fruition, at least with Drakeo, and REMBLE never got the chance to do Drakeo or the STINC team justice in that regard, because unfortunately a major loss within the LA rap scene would occur in 2021, which would bring both sides' relationship as a whole to an end and pretty much divide the LA rap scene from that point on. The death of Drakeo the Ruler.
No arrests yet in the killing of a West Coast rapper at a Los Angeles music festival over the weekend. Drakeo the Ruler was supposed to perform, but was stabbed behind the main stage. Eyewitness News reporter Christian Cordero has the latest in the investigation.
The investigation into another LA area rapper's death is in the California Highway Patrol's hands today, 2 days after a concert meant to celebrate music ended with one of its own dead. Drakeo the Ruler, born Daryl Caldwell, was stabbed Saturday night at the Once Upon a Time in LA Music Festival and Exposition.
You see, ever since Drakeo got out of jail, it seemed like he had a chip on his shoulder. He wasn't trying to take shit from nobody, and it didn't matter who they were. I mean, you really can't blame him. Imagine you get out of facing a possible life sentence and the world is your oyster. You're legit gonna feel untouchable. However, there were many different groups within the city that felt that he was overstepping his boundaries. While Drakeo had problems with a lot of people within the city before this time, it all started to boil over with the now infamous No Jumper interview. You see, Adam and the beef instigating slave master that he is brought Drakeo on his platform and essentially had him throw disses to many of his ops from blood neighborhoods. From making fun of blind Inglewood rapper Munchie B to insinuating that it was up with YG, Drakeo doubled down on having an issue with all of them.
If somebody that can't see said that they was gonna like slide on you, how would that happen? Like, you blind. I'm just wondering, there's like,
YG would later respond in his own No Jumper interview, where he said he wasn't about to talk on the internet, but if dudes had an issue, he knew his homies were gonna crash about it.
We not rap beefing, we really beefing. The homies gonna get you.
Fast forward a couple months, and Drakeo tripled down and dropped his infamous Inglewood song and essentially dissed the entire city of Inglewood, which in hindsight might not have been the best idea. Honestly, that song is crazy, the beat goes stupid, however it's safe to say the opposing side was not impressed, and things looked like it took an extremely dark turn on December 18, 2021. You see, Drakeo and the rest of the STINCs were booked to perform at Once Upon a Time Festival in South Central. Whoever was booking these artists was just looking for a crash out scenario, because at the same time that they booked Drakeo, they also booked YG, who was Drakeo's probably biggest op at the time besides his whole entire city of Inglewood. Shortly after the concert started at around 8 p.m, concertgoers reported seeing a large brawl ensue backstage, where the 10 to 15 STINC team members were surrounded by 50 plus people, presumably from YG's side, but we don't know that for sure. Video shows everyone trying to fight off this crowd, and even shows people like Ralfy throwing kicks and, you know, trying to back up and fight these people, which was what REMBLE was alluding to in his diss, which we'll get into later. Unfortunately though, when the dust settled, tragedy struck, as Drakeo was found with a fatal knife wound to his neck, bleeding out on the ground. He didn't survive, and somehow, someway, nobody has ever been able to find a suspect in his killing, even though it was witnessed by hundreds of people. This has many fans, including people like REMBLE, upset at the fact that no one has yet to slide to avenge his death. Not only was Drakeo's death the death of an LA legend, but it seems like the death of unity amongst the biggest artists associated with him, because this was a major breaking point in REMBLE's relationship with the STINC team, and eventually lead to the diss, which we got to get into right now. Shortly after Drakeo's passing, there was a funeral service for the ruler, and one notable person was not in attendance. That was REMBLE. He seemed to allude to this in his Not Like Us freestyle, that the reason he didn't show up was he was not given the info, even though he was trying to pay his respect in some sort of way. In doing so, I'm sure he didn't want to show up uninvited and cause a problem when it's supposed to be a day celebrating Drakeo. But judging by the lyrics in the freestyle, it seems that ever since then, the STINC team has been acting weird to him. At the same time though, you gotta put everything into perspective, you know, as a whole. Ralfy and his family took a huge loss, the loss of his actual blood brother. So obviously dealing with that, along with all the administrative type of things you got to deal with, you know, with their estate and dividing everything, when someone like that dies, probably left him with no time to extend olive branches with people he personally had problems with or perceived problems with. Probably didn't know at that time. In an Old No Jumper interview, Ralfy even seems to imply that they were expecting REMBLE to show up to the funeral, and it seemed like to be an issue for him that REMBLE didn't show. Seems that Ralfy just wanted him to pay respects to Drakeo, with Drakeo essentially playing a large role in REMBLE's success. People go even as far as saying Drakeo basically birthed REMBLE's flow, which is debatable. But there's no debate that the early cosign definitely put REMBLE in the position of being a major face in the West Coast at the time. It definitely seems like there was a lack of communication, because both sides kind of claim that both of them felt that they were being wronged. It didn't help shortly that after the funeral debacle that OTM, a group associated with the STINC team and signed to them at that time, dropped subliminal disses toward REMBLE, which apparently struck REMBLE the wrong way. At this point, it definitely seemed like things were going in the wrong direction, but it seemed like no one really had spoken on it until the No Jumper interview that we talked about before. In this interview a year ago, Ralfy would go on to say that REMBLE was getting fake views, it was acting too industry, and didn't want to associate with the STINCs. He would also clarify that Drakeo had no issue with him when he died, and that the original disagreement they all had with REMBLE was a misunderstanding that REMBLE took seriously, but there was no point in straightening it out at this point because REMBLE decided not to show up to Drakeo's funeral. Fast forward a year later, and this leads us to the disses that seemingly came out of nowhere. For real, it really seems that ever since Kendrick dropped that Not Like Us diss, there's been some type of angry energy in the air for the West Coast. Part of it I feel like is the major spotlight that Dot put on the West at the time has everyone energized. He even sort of paid homage to Drakeo the Ruler, sort of incorporating his flow, so you know people in that realm felt that it was time to turn up and pop out. REMBLE began teasing his Not Like Us freestyle a couple days ago, but in his teasing he didn't really show any parts that would be included in the diss part. He dropped several songs since Drakeo's death. No one really expected him to go crazy on anyone at the time, but sure enough, when the song dropped, it immediately went viral in LA. From lines like "Why'd you leave me here with Ralfy?" to dissing Good Finesse, saying we lost the ruler as depressing as it is. Good Finesse don't got no squabble. Jiggas dropped you like a 6. Going on to say Calvin's is square and Angel's just straight zesty. And all I know is K7, he looked musty. He went on to bring up how Drakeo would even feel about all the STINC team, saying that you Jiggas is dusty. I can't respect that. Hey, go get your jewelry. Go get your bread back. Long live the ruler. If he was here, he would have bled y'all. He then went on to say Blue Pesos would never be Drakeo, and wrapped it up by saying Ralfy drops the same song 100 times over and over again. Bro went crazy at them for no reason. All of a sudden, definitely felt like he had some sort of pent-up animosity towards them that's been going on for years. The song was hard, you're not gonna lie, but you gotta commend Ralfy for hitting back, previewing his own REMBLE diss within an hour. He then later dropped the official track on his YouTube called Jada Pinkett, using REMBLE's Touchable beat. In the beat, he brings up past allegations against REMBLE, where there are rumors coming out of San Pedro that he apparently raped someone. Although people reference some sort of video that some girl dropped in 2020, there hasn't been any hardcore evidence that pointed out to the validity in this claim. But bro continued to roast him, calling his fit with a do-rag in the video bummy, and that he was balding, had no chains. He even said that he should invoice his label as a marketing budget expense because of the fact that he's getting major clout from dissing the STINC team. Basically saying that they're currently helping his career by them just mentioning him. All in all, it's not a surprising thing to me that this even went down like this. And it's honestly pretty crazy at how they did it, you know, the level of disses, and they pretty went deep. You know, REMBLE's diss is honestly pretty crazy, you know. Bro basically speaking from the ruler in third person, saying that the ruler, Drakeo, would not like the way that the STINC team acted when he died in the fight, calling out Ralfy for not fighting and kicking, and saying that they showed up high, saying that they got tormented in the county jail and stuff like that, while Ralfy hit back and said that he was basically broke and falling off and stuff like that. You know, it's not really something that I would have really expected. I'm not gonna sit here and be like Drakeo wouldn't have liked this, you know. I mean, Drakeo was known to not really care and would just go head into beef. So at the end of the day, I mean, he would probably support this. And at the end of the day, I kind of support it too, you know. It's better that this stuff happens over wax and people actually going out and harming each other. But the comments within the videos have been crazy, you know. REMBLE basically laughing at Ralfy's diss, saying it was bad. And then a bunch of people within the comments straight beefing with each other. People I know straight talking about murking each other and stuff like that in the comments, which I'm not going to put. But, I mean, you could go read the comments yourself. It's honestly crazy, and I wouldn't be surprised if this escalates. I mean, I hope this doesn't escalate. It wouldn't be a smart thing to really escalate, because I know damn well if you follow this channel, you know LAPD is probably looking at these comments trying to do a RICO. But I mean, LA is not really like these other cities where the police really even be locking up these gangs in a sort of RICO matter. So I mean, hopefully nothing bad happens, but if it does, they'll have a paper trail of everything that goes on, you know. People basically going crazy right now, and I really feel like it was the Not Like Us, the Kendrick and Drake beef, everyone dissing on wax like that sort of energized people to realize that this is the time to do it. And I really think, like, regardless of everything else with REMBLE and everything in his career, because REMBLE had disappeared for a long period of time. Like, he was basically running LA in 2021, but then after Drakeo died, it seemed like he sort of like a little bit fell off. You know, he kind of disappeared. He didn't have these same viral hits that were going on from before. However, it seems that right now he sort of realized that you can capitalize on dissing people. And I mean, he probably already had issues with it and was meaning to bring it up, but wasn't trying to talk about it in an interview or something. He just took his time to make a song that he knew would go crazy and basically dropped it on the same beef that someone else was dissing for. And honestly, marketing tactic, it is smart. But I feel like Ralfy has a very valid point in that they should invoice their damn label for that, because Ralfy at the same time has been dropping non-stop. Bro has dropped hundreds of videos, hundreds of songs. Bro has been going crazy. You know, you might not like his rapping style or like his flow and stuff like that, but you gotta admit, on an independent level, bro has been going crazy. Ever since Drakeo died, it seemed like it put a battery in Ralfy's back to the point where he felt that he had to go 10 times harder than he was going, and has been dropping consistently. And I really commend him for that, because that's the only thing you can really do at the end of the day. Like, bro took the time to really focus on positivity and just build up the people around him and build up his whole thing and just keep going, you know. And at the end of the day, I really feel like you can't hate on that, you know. And I feel like that is definitely something that Drakeo would have wanted. You know, bro went hard and has since built a pretty big independent following and kept the name alive. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the future, whether this boils over and turns into actual violence. I kind of doubt it, but I feel like at the end of the day, there needs to be some type of discussion with each other. Like, there can't just be back and forth. There has to be some type of discussion so we can even understand fully what's going on. Am I expecting it to happen though? Probably not. Probably just more diss tracks, you know. And honestly, diss tracks aren't necessarily always a bad thing. I feel like it makes you work harder, and it's making everyone come with bars. It's making everyone come with the double entendres and these disses, and I'm honestly here for it, man. But hey, let me know in the comments what y'all think, man. Let me know. Real say shit. You already know what's going on. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on everything. Who do you think dropped the hardest diss track? You think REMBLE one, or you think Ralfy the Plug one? And apparently members of OTM are dropping diss tracks too. I wouldn't be surprised. So it's about to be crazy, man. We're gonna keep y'all updated, man. Real say shit. You already know what's going on. Peace.